everybody and welcome back to my channel. I want to say thank you so much for all your wonderful feedback on my previous two videos about Marilyn Manson. It's been overwhelming. Of course, I've received some hate from his fans, but obviously I knew that was going to happen. That is to be expected. But overall, the response has been overwhelming, and I'm still going to be continuing looking into this, even if I'm not active on social media or on YouTube. Please know that I'm always in the background, listening, learning, taking in information, and keeping an eye on the situation, because believe it or not, things are starting to unfold. I feel like this has become something that is being recognized more in the public now. Other people are starting to talk about it. Major media outlets are talking about it. I've had some people reach out to me who are from massive media outlets, and I'm kind of like, whoa, like this story is going somewhere. Like, so people have seen the video. I think people are starting to look into it a bit more, and I think people are talking about it. There's been threads on social media and on Twitter that have gone viral, and people have started mentioning his name. It's not cryptic anymore for some people. Some people are asking him direct questions, and I think the story is progressing. So rest assured, I am still keeping up with this, and this is something that I feel like in the long run I will stick with as a story, because I feel like it's very, very important to hold people accountable for their abusive behaviors. In this video, I'm going to be referencing people who have named Manson directly on social media, who basically called him out, and have also referenced Evan Rachel Wood directly in these posts. These first screenshots are from Twitter, and they are from a man named Cleary, who posted this on the 13th of September 2020, and it reads, "I worked directly with Marilyn Manson in 2007 to 2008. Evan Rachel Wood was with him. She was on tour with us the entire time. Over the course of 1 year, he turned her into a different person. He broke her. I didn't totally realize until later in life. I then started working for him as his personal assistant in 2014 to 2015. I saw firsthand over and over him being an abusive, violent boyfriend to his girlfriend Lindsay. Over the almost 2-year stretch, I saw her in tears and him screaming and belittling her more and more often than I didn't. He would threaten to kill her, cut her up, bury her, embarrass her to the world, making her cry and fear him. He would remind her that she'd be homeless without him and make fun of her learning disabled family member. Everyone in his immediate circle knows this, but everyone, including myself, is afraid to say anything because of the code. It's frowned upon to tell people's private business. Those of us that stay quiet do it because we were making a living, and it's hard to find work in music if you can't keep your mouth shut. But enough is enough. His fans will be angry and not believe it because they don't want to. I understand that. I'm sorry to them, but it's true. I will also say that a reason I stayed quiet is because of a kind of thing he did. On tour in 2007, my stepmom suddenly died. The Manson camp flew me home for a week on their dime and paid me anyway. I will never forget that, and it sincerely meant a lot to me. But as I see so many people defending him and calling accusers liars, I've had enough. Believe them, I saw it. I have nothing to gain from this and plenty to lose. There are people in his band and crew that I'm still close to. My apologies to them, but they also know that I'm right. He is a brilliant musician, an incredibly smart and funny man, but he's also a mentally and physically abusive drug addict that has the ability to be super kind and emotional. It's hard to wrap your head around. I'm not asking for him to be cancelled. Fuck all that cancelled stuff. My sole focus is for people not to call these women liars. They're not. Manson gave me a living for a long time. Gave me great music as a kid. I appreciate the opportunities. I saw the entire world for the first time with him. This was not easy, but I had to do it. I stand by it. I have to commend him for standing up and saying this, because that sure must took some guts, due to the fact that this person could affect your career. You're working in an industry where, like he said, you have to keep your mouth shut. And I think it took a lot of bravery for him to come forward and finally stand up for these women and say something. So yeah, well done, Cleary. One of the most shocking things to happen so far in regards to Manson and people actually speaking about him in the media is in the December 2020 issue of Metal Hammer. Dave Everly interviewed Manson and actually confronted him about Evan Rachel Wood and Esme Bianco, who I mentioned in my last video. And I genuinely couldn't believe that somebody had directly asked Manson about the abuse. I'm going to leave this section of the interview on screen for you guys to see. I will read parts of it, but if you want to pause the video, you can read through it. Or I will link you down below to the Manson is Abusive Instagram, where they have taken pictures of the magazine interview, so you can flick through the pictures and read it directly and in full on their page if you would like. The article basically references Evan Rachel Wood's relationship with Manson and how he has fantasies about killing her, how he's mentioned that in different interviews almost boastfully, and how he used self-harm as a way to manipulate her after their breakup. And then he goes on to mention Esme Bianco. They mention her testimony for the Phoenix Act and the abuse that she spoke about also. The article goes on to say, neither Bianco nor Wood has named their abuser, and there's no suggestion either was talking about Manson. But speaking to him now, it seems wrong not to address Wood's testimony specifically, and the Me Too movement in general. After all, if Manson had nothing to do with Evan Rachel Wood's testimony, then the people putting two and two together online are way off, and he's being unfairly tried by social media. It must be frustrating and terrifying to be judged like that. What did he think when he heard her say it? There's a pause. This is where I head out to the photo shoot because I talk about music, he says. I'm not here to talk about rumors. Is it not worth addressing? I understand that you have to ask that question like that, but I don't want to talk about rumors as much as I want to talk about music. So there's no truth in it? Like I said, I won't qualify that with an answer. Manson doesn't sound angry or exasperated when he says this. There's a calmness in his voice, but he's clearly not engaging with what I want to talk about. I try another question. Does he still feel like a transgressive artist? But we end up talking over each other. Nah, he says, I'm just saying you're not going to get a response from that. It's not only because it's not something I'm going to respond to, because it's not off the table. So you just want to talk about your new album? Tell me good questions about the music and we'll continue. So you only want to talk about the new album. Now it's my turn to repeat myself. You don't want to talk about the online allegations against you. There's no allegations against me. I'm not going to talk about it. Rumors. There's a noise, like someone has put their hand over the mouthpiece. I think I can hear a muffled voice. Then silence. I listen for a few seconds. But Marilyn Manson has gone. It doesn't take long for the shit to hit the fan. There are calls from Manson's team asking what Hammer was thinking when bringing up Evan Rachel Wood, and why a heavy metal magazine, in their exact words, is even engaging with this topic like this. They also insist that Manson didn't hang up, that the line was cut off. At one point they ask if the magazine can pull the piece and not run it. There's an implication that if it runs, it could damage the future relationships between the magazine and Manson. Offers from the magazine for Manson to clarify his comments and positions on the issues raised are turned down, including a further set of questions surrounding Evan Rachel Wood, Esme Bianco, and the Me Too movement. To be clear, there's no suggestion that the person Evan Rachel Wood has accused of abusing her is Manson. Wood herself has refused to reveal the name of her abuser after a Twitter user asked her why she has never named them. She replied, "They've threatened to kill me or have me killed." Nor is Manson's silence in any way an implication of guilt. Seen one way, his reluctance to engage with the questions about his relationship with Evan Rachel Wood and the culture of abuse generally is logical. Even simply acknowledging what has been said could be viewed as giving credence to online allegations. But it is frustrating that an artist who was never afraid to take on the bastions of power and their abuse is suddenly ducking the issue of personal abuse and the culture that for so long has either ignored it or glorified it. When he talked about the fantasies of smashing Evan Rachel Wood's skull in with a sledgehammer, Manson wasn't just exercising his artistic or personal right to free speech. He was doing what he has always done, saying something outrageous, crossing boundaries, testing the limits of people's tolerance for transgression, all the things we wanted from Marilyn Manson. But the culture has shifted. The Me Too and Time's Up movements have cast his words in a different, truer light. Women, including the ones who have been close to Manson at points in his life, are threatened and abused on a daily basis. Talking about smashing in a partner's skull isn't proactive, it's pathetic and psychopathic. Calling someone 158 times and cutting yourself until they take you back isn't romantic, it's abusive. As Evan Rachel Wood's testimony about her treatment at the hands of an unnamed partner show, these situations are real. This isn't an attempt to cancel Manson, just an attempt to engage him in a broader conversation about an era where some of the old rock and roll ways look increasingly toxic and his place in it. After this interview, Metal Hammer basically sent questions over to Manson's PR team for answering, and they sent back a statement that is honestly so toxic, gaslighting, victim blaming and shaming. I can't even understand how they thought this was a good idea. They basically say that the Spin interview was taken out of context. They also mention, well, why does he still speak to Dita Von Teese and why does he still speak to Rose McGowan? And I just think that is just so ridiculous. Like, just because somebody didn't abuse every single girlfriend that they're with doesn't mean that they weren't abusive to somebody else. Like, I hate this notion that somebody has to be abusive to every single person ever to be an abuser. No, that's not the case. Like, somebody can abuse one person and then not abuse another. It doesn't mean that they didn't do something to somebody else. So can we please stop with this victim blaming, gaslighting mentality? It's so ridiculous. After this interview was published, Rose McGowan actually went to social media to address the topic. She posted a screenshot of a DM that she sent to Marilyn Manson after she'd read the interview. The text reads as follows: "Hey, I don't know what happened with you and Evan, but tell your reps I am not to be used as a shield. Not now, not ever. If Evan names you or anyone else, I will support her, regardless of my history with you. I hope it's not you, but I have no idea. Do not use the fact that you texted me recently after many years as a way out. Do not use my book Brave, where I wrote about good times with you, as a defense. I will allow no one to use me." And then she goes on to tag Evan Rachel Wood in the story and says, "I'm so sorry you were hurt by anyone. Sent a message to Marilyn Manson." And very soon after this story, another woman who was close to Manson also posted a story. Lainey Chantel used to date and be married to one of Manson's ex-band members, Twiggy Ramirez, and she posted, "I never spoke on this before, but I was there for 8 years. I don't like him. Separating art from artists does not work for me." And then she went on to share a picture of her and Evan Rachel Wood, and she tagged her in the image. And she also posted a little picture here, and it says, "I stand with my friends." And interestingly, she also posted here, as you can see, a picture of her and Esme Bianco, which I find very interesting that people are now actually referencing these two women. And I think that's very, very important, because I feel like that does give some legitimacy to the allegations. I mean, of course, it does not confirm the allegations, but the fact that people who were close to Manson and who were around these women and interacted with these women while they were dating with Manson are acknowledging it is very interesting to me. Evan Rachel Wood never directly replied to any of these stories or referenced the Metal Hammer interview, but soon after she did post this post, which I found quite interesting. This is a quote that she posted, and it says, "Extremely toxic people will only be abusive with a select few. This way, their behavior won't be found out by the majority." And I feel like that just speaks volumes. I will be leaving links below in the description of this video so you guys can read the Metal Hammer interview in more depth, so you can get the whole context to the entire interview. And I want to commend Metal Hammer for what they did for actually publishing this and for having the nerve to even ask the questions, which a lot of people wouldn't do. So I thought that was very, very brave on their part, especially that it's possibly severed their relationship with Manson for good from the magazine. And yes, I'm going to be continuing with this. I'm hoping to make a part 3 to my series, but I'm gathering information very slowly. Obviously, I have my own life and my own things that I have to do, but please do not think that I'm not going to continue with this. I'm constantly looking into it. I'm constantly being updated and informed, and hopefully I can come back with a new video for you guys soon. So please bear with me, and thank you so much for all of the support, and I will see you guys in my next video.